Before we arrive flying inland from Mumbai, it's important we understand the story of Ajanta. The story begins with the Satavahanas, a dynasty instrumental in the development of long-distance trade networks and the emergence of some of the earliest surviving rock-cut monuments in India. These earliest excavations date from the 2nd century BCE and formed the foundations of what would become the Ajanta Caves. Back then, monks required places to live, worship, study, and spend the monsoon season. Travellers, pilgrims, and donors moved through these landscapes as well, finding places to rest, gather, and participate in a wider community that stretched across western India. Over time, a small monastic complex emerged along the cliff face. Then it fell silent. For roughly 3 centuries, major excavation activity ceased. This period, known as the hiatus, remains one of the great mysteries of Ajanta. Historians have proposed various explanations, but the reality is, we simply do not know for certain. What is clear is that work at the site came to a halt. The caves remained overlooking the Wagora River for generations, while little changed at the site. But that silence would not last forever. In the 5th century CE, Ajanta entered what historians often describe as its Great Renaissance. By this time, the Satavahanas had long disappeared, replaced by new political powers. Among them was the Vakataka dynasty, whose ruler, Harisena, controlled a large and prosperous kingdom across much of central India. His reign brought stability, wealth, and opportunity. Resources could be directed towards ambitious projects. Powerful individuals sponsored major excavations. Ajanta experienced one of the most remarkable bursts of artistic activity anywhere in the ancient world. For a brief period, this quiet valley became one of the largest artistic workshops in ancient India. But Ajanta was not a Vakataka project alone. Research has shown that multiple groups were sponsoring different caves simultaneously, including independent regional powers such as the nearby Asmaka Kingdom. The result was a remarkable situation. Different political, religious, and social groups were all investing in the same site at the same time, each contributing to the expansion of the complex in their own way. Sponsoring a cave here was more than an act of devotion. It was an opportunity to associate oneself with one of the most important religious centers in the region. But the rock tells us more. Even the Great Renaissance had its problems. Evidence preserved within the caves points to a temporary interruption, a period of roughly 4 years that we will refer to as the recession. The exact cause remains debated. Political instability may have played a role, with speculation of a conflict between Upendragupta, a local ruler under Harisena, and the neighbouring Asmakas. Whatever happened during the recession, the site that emerged afterward was not quite the same. The Asmakas appear to have gained influence. Some of the most ambitious caves belong to this final phase. Then the final blow came. In 477 CE, the ruler whose authority had maintained stability across much of this region was no more. Rival patrons and competing powers had all operated within the order his reign provided, and his successor was unable to preserve the system that had supported Ajanta's extraordinary expansion. Many caves were left unfinished. Within only 2 decades, the Great Renaissance was over. Over the centuries that followed, the monastic community dwindled. Buddhism declined across much of the Deccan. The forest slowly reclaimed the valley. Protected by isolation, the caves survived. Their paintings remained sheltered from sunlight and weather. Eventually, Ajanta slipped from wider historical memory, until a British cavalry officer in 1819 encountered the site while hunting. He spotted the facade of a cave hidden in the overgrowth. This is the story of Ajanta, and perhaps most remarkable of all is how that story has been reconstructed. Careful archaeological investigation allows historians to reconstruct centuries of activity. Here we are. The story we have just traced now stands before us in stone. From this distance, the caves appear almost modest. Dark openings cut into the cliff face. Let's get closer and discover the true scale of what was created here.